Big NBA news. Karl-Anthony Towns getting traded to the Knicks. That is not something I saw coming. I wasn't planning. All I was planning on doing tonight was making a short, going over some of the Kings' injury reports. Some of the new news around the Kings coming into training camp. But then, out of nowhere, Karl-Anthony Towns just gets traded to the Knicks. And so I'm like, I got to hop on here and talk about this because this is just such an interesting move. So I'm going to talk about this cat trade first, and then we'll get to some of the Kings news a little bit later. So it looks like Karl-Anthony Towns is going to the Knicks, and we got Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo and a first round pick going to the Timberwolves, and I believe that was Detroit's first round pick. And then we got like Daquan Jeffries and some draft compensation going to Charlotte to make it all work. And so let's start with the Knicks side, because the Knicks side, I understand, it's very easy. You have a chance to get Karl-Anthony Towns, who I think fits the team perfectly. You had an issue at the center position because you lose Ihart. You have Mitchell Robinson, who is already injured. He's always injured. And you can bring in an all-star level player in Karl-Anthony Towns, who I think can fit this team really well. Just an amazing offensive player, maybe not so great defensively, but then you have Mikal Bridges, you have OG Anunoby, so you fill that void at center while still putting yourself in a position where Mitchell Robinson, if he comes back and he's healthy, he can play because he can play alongside Cat. And I think that's just a great move and fit for the Knicks. And the Knicks they're going all in. They're pushing all their chips in, and I can only respect that, right? But then let's go to the Timberwolves. And they're doing the opposite, it feels like. It feels like they were in a championship window right now with this team they had. A Timberwolves team that has been unsuccessful for about as long as the Kings, just with like one or two more playoff appearances in there, right? So we as Kings fans understand the struggle. But then, they're this great team last season. Anthony Edwards, this rising star, Cat, who has been on this team forever and had a lot of individual success. Definitely, some ups and downs. He's been a player that's been criticized, and he has his flaws in his game. But he's an amazing player who just, got the team into the playoffs and was one of the best teams in the West. And so you have this core of Ant, Gobert, Cat, Mike Conley, Jaden McDaniels, and it felt like they should have gone all in on that. Is that core good enough to be a championship team? Maybe, maybe not. I feel like it's on the cusp. If Anthony Edwards really turns into that dude that everyone's hyping him up to be, which I don't think he is quite yet. I feel like he's getting a little overhyped for where he is right now. But if he did become that guy like right away, then this could be a championship team if everything fell the Timberwolves' way. And that's all you're asking for, I feel like, as an NBA team, is to just have a team good enough where if everything falls your way, you can be a championship team. But it feels like that wasn't good enough for the Timberwolves. It feels like the Timberwolves saw where they were at, and they're like, this probably isn't a championship team. And, they're not necessarily wrong in thinking that, if that's what they were thinking. Because like I said, I don't think Ant is quite at the point that everyone is hyping him up to be. I feel like he still just needs a few more years, and then maybe he'll get there to that super stardom level of player that can lead a championship team. I feel like maybe the Timberwolves see it that way, where they're like, we think Ant needs a few more years to develop, so we're trying to like push the championship window down the road a little bit. They have maybe this championship window of this year, maybe next year, but they're trying to move that championship window to 3, 4, 5 years down the road when Ant's older, more experienced, better player. Jaden McDaniels is, Rob Dillingham. Some of these younger guys become bigger parts of the team and better parts of the team. But I think that's such a risky move because you have this core of players that has seen success. And now, you're bringing in Julius Randle, you're bringing in Dante DiVincenzo. Those are good players. And I don't think the difference between Julius Randle and Karl-Anthony Towns is that big. And I think that's why they're doing it, because Julius Randle's contract is shorter and a lot less than Karl-Anthony Towns. And so with the new CBA, they want to shed money. But I question the fit with Gobert and Cat, but that worked out. I was wrong. And so were many people. But now I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to question the fit with Randle and Gobert. That seems like it works even less. You have Ant, who's not the best three-point shooter. Gobert's not going to shoot. Randle's going to shoot him, maybe just like Ant, and not shoot a great percentage. And Randle and Cat, to be honest, are players that are kind of in the weird spot of being stars, but not being good enough to be, top players on a championship team, and maybe not fitting in a lot of places. But of course, Randle has that lesser contract, and Cat is the better player, but his contract is very big. And so I understand that, they're trying to shed salary, and they're trying to make sure that they don't mortgage their future when maybe Anthony Edwards isn't quite ready yet. But what if Ant is ready? And what if now you've put yourself in a spot where 2-3 years from now, Gobert is older, maybe he is retired, Conley's retired, you don't have Cat anymore. What are you doing with Julius Randle? Now your core is completely blown up, and it's like, okay, you have Ant, you have Jaden McDaniels, maybe Rob Dillingham will be good. Maybe you draft some other good players or whatever, but you have the core now that I feel like is good enough that it deserves another chance, like another season, to see if they can be that championship team, and they've just blown it up. Not completely blown it up, but this feels like it makes them worse. Julius Randle, still a good player. Dante DiVincenzo, a good player that will contribute, no doubt. But if I was a Timberwolves fan, I would just be so disappointed. One, because you're trading away a guy who has been part of the franchise forever. And two, because it seems like you're now not going for it this season. Either they have so much trust in Ant that they're like, we need to shed this salary and just go all in on Ant and put pieces around him in the future, and they feel like they can afford to do that because Ant can carry them so far, or they're like, Ant's not ready, so let's try to build around him in the future, not mortgage our future. And I get with the CBA, they were gonna have to shed money at some point. The team was getting expensive, and people had talked a long time about it being possibly Cat, but why now? Go for it this season. So I just don't like that for them. Shout out to Charlotte, though. They're getting the best player in this deal. They're getting my boy Daquan Jeffries. Love Daquan Jeffries. Kings legend. But the Kings, don't they play the Timberwolves on opening night in Sacramento? Yeah, they do. October 24th at home against Minnesota. So we'll get to see this Minnesota team firsthand. And I think it made them worse. That's a good thing for the Kings. And hey, I think it's possible that the West got worse this year than it was last year, just with a lot of teams either aging out or making a move like this. I feel like people have said the West is getting better, and I just haven't really seen it. Like where? OKC? Yeah, they got better. But where else? Maybe a few other teams got better, but there are a lot of teams that got worse, I think. And I think the Kings got better. And now you have Minnesota that's going to have to try to figure out this whole new fit. And they went away from something that worked last season. And who knows how this fit is going to work now with Julius Randle. I mean, Julius Randle, he's had amazing seasons. So who knows? Like if he has a season where his three ball is falling, then this could work. But it's just so odd to me. I would just love to know if the Timberwolves see Julius Randle as a large part of their future or not. Because I feel like this trade was more about getting off of Cat than it was about Julius Randle, which makes it kind of weird. I feel like the Knicks wanted to get off Julius Randle and find a better piece to fit, and so they're going all in. And then the opposite is true with Minnesota, where they're not trying to go all in. They're trying to save that money. and so Cat's the guy that's going to go out. And so I love when a team goes all in with their guys. That's what the Knicks are doing. That doesn't seem to be what the Timberwolves are doing. So I love this for the Knicks. It's an exciting time to be a Knicks fan. And if you are a Timberwolves fan watching this, let me know how you feel about this, because I don't feel like I would feel great. I don't feel great for you guys. And now to finish this video off, let's talk about some Kings news. The stuff that I was actually planning on talking about before this whole Cat trade happened. So we got some news today in terms of injury news for the Kings, and it's not good news. We already know Devin Carter's gonna miss the start of the season. We don't know quite where Kevin Huerter is at right now, if he'll be ready to go at the start of the season. Hopefully he will be. But now we have two new injuries that happened in the offseason. We have Trey Lyles, who had a left groin strain, and he will be reevaluated in 3 weeks. So that puts him starting the season in question. And then you have Jordan McLaughlin with a grade 2 ankle sprain. He'll be reevaluated in 2 weeks. And so if he can come back in 2 weeks, he'll be good to go with the start of the season. But I'm not too worried about the McLaughlin part. I think he'll probably be fine. It's just an ankle sprain. Obviously, it's 2 weeks, whereas Lyles is 3 weeks. But also, I think McLaughlin's just a less important player. I know that we don't have Devin Carter, and it's possible we could not have Kevin Huerter, so that hurts the guard depth. But I think we'll be okay in terms of point guard depth. We got Fox, we got Monk, and then, we got DeRozan and Sabonis now in terms of playmaking. So I think we'll be okay without Jordan McLaughlin. But Trey Lyles, last season it was the same deal where he was missing the start of the season, and he might miss the start of the season here. And it's just hard to replace Trey Lyles on this team. We're already so shallow on the front court, and he brings, it's easier to replace his shooting. Maybe not so much if Kevin Huerter is not ready to go by the start of the season, but if he is, then it's very easy to replace Lyles shooting with this team. But it's that physicality, it's the rebounding that he brings, it's that toughness that he brings on the front line that we can't replace. We have no one to replace him there. So Lyles is just such a versatile player for this team, playing the 4, playing the 5, and we just don't have a lot of guys that play that position. And if all 4 of the guys, Devin Carter, Kevin Huerter, Trey Lyles, and Jordan McLaughlin, if all 4 of them are out to start the season, the Kings' depth is going to be tested. Obviously, we know Devin Carter's going to be out, but you could see some Colby Jones minutes, Jalen McDaniels, any of the two-way guys. So it's definitely a bit worrying. But if there was any time for this to happen, it would be now, where, they have time to recover before opening day. Maybe it bleeds a little bit into the season, but, the Kings can survive a few losses early in the season, both actual game losses and just losing players in the rotation. But it's just, this injury news is never something you want right before training camp and preseason starts. But anyways, that is it for this episode of the Real Report. We are not too far away from the Kings starting preseason, so I'll probably have 1 or 2 more episodes between now and then. I have one in the works for sure, and then we'll see, if I get another one out, or if there's more news of some kind, then of course I will talk about it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. It helps me out. Shout out as always to Cody Willis and Joe Mama for being members, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.